What's up, everybody? This is Terrence. So, a part of the Coach's Vault, I wanted to do like my own little special edition. We're going to call this Beast Talk. So, for my content that I want to share with you this week, I am bringing in my lovely guest, Brittney. Brittney has been a very, very long time friend of mine. We dated for many of years, and we have a very strong bond and connection to this day. She remains one of my best friends in the whole universe. And she has a lot of insight to talk to you guys about in terms of kidney disease, self-confidence, even how she manages with, working out. And, well, I'll let her speak to you about a lot of the stuff that we have planned on talking, but I think she has a lot of insight to give you guys, and I'm excited to have her as a guest. And she is my first guest that I'm doing on my Beast Talk series, so I want to applaud that. I don't have an applaud button, so we'll just clap that up right now. But so Brittney, I want to get into. Let's talk a little bit about chronic kidney disease. Like I believe it's something that people are aware of, but I don't think they understand the severity of like what people go through that actually suffer from kidney disease. So if you would like to give us a little insight on that, we'd appreciate that.
Sure. Well, yes, I battle kidney disease, stage 5, end stage renal, renal disease.
So stage
I was
5 would
diagnosed
be the last stage.
the last stage of kidney
Okay,
disease. Yeah, where there's there's no turning back, there's no reversing or anything.
got you.
Um, yeah, so I was diagnosed at the age of 11. Um, really, how it came about, honestly, was just a shock because I was honestly just a normal kid, you know, doing normal kid things, and it all just came from a simple blood test, that came out abnormal, and the doctor, my pediatrician at the time, let's say, like, just go to the ER and let's get more tests done. So when we got more tests done, I just came to the conclusion that I was in the end stages of kidney disease. My kidneys were scarred about 95%, showing that I only had 5% function at the
Hmm.
time. So, and they couldn't diagnose what actually caused it. Like, I really didn't have a diagnosis. They just knew that my kidneys were failed, like they were failing. And from there, like, they said you have to start kidney dialysis right away. Um,
Oh wow.
of course. So yeah, that was just, it was a shock, of course, to everybody, because like we didn't see it coming. There was no kind of symptoms. I wasn't showing any kind of symptoms of any kind or anything like that. So yeah, I started kidney dialysis, which there's two forms of dialysis. There's peritoneal and then there's hemo. I did hemodialysis, where it is a machine that cleans your blood over a cycle of time. Um, so I did that for 4 months, where I had a catheter placed in my chest, which is temporary. They only leave it in for temporary because it's actually attached to your heart, the catheter. So it's for it being in there for a long time, you can get an infection, and if if it's attached to the heart, that's not a good thing. So
Hmm.
they place an access in your arm, which is called a fistula, which they attach your vein to your artery, and over time it creates just a enlarged vein, like a large size vein where they can access your blood. So 2 needles go in, one goes in and it's attached to a tubing, and it pulls the blood out, goes into the cycler machine where it cleanses your blood, and the second tubing with a needle that goes in the second part of your arm. It returns your clean blood. So it goes over a cycle of time, which my hours, like, it ranges between 3 to 5 hours. It depends on the person. Like, it really like, it all depends on how, like, according to weight. You
Okay.
know, if it's a really big person, if it's like a really big overweight person, they're most likely like 5 hours. You know, who 5 hours on the machine. But me, because I was a small frame, I'm usually like 3 or 3.5 hours. So that was dialysis. At the age of 11, I did it for about 4 months. So in between that time, my parents at the time were testing to donate to me, to donate a kidney. My mom was a perfect match for me. So in January of 2000, January 4th, 2000, I received my kidney transplant from my mother. Um, yeah, that was that. I think I was around like that was seventh grade. I was in seventh grade when all that happened. So I got my kidney transplant. I was out for the rest of the year. You know, 'cause I had to. You know, when you have a kidney transplant, you're supposed to be out for at least 6 months
Okay.
to heal, and also you can't be around people because your immune system is still practically technically low at the time, still because you're on immunosuppressants at the time of the kidney transplant. So it was perfect from the start. The kidney was working very well. I ended up going back to school. I started eighth grade again. Went back to school. I was fine. The kidney was well until about 2013. No, 2003. I'm sorry. Going way ahead. 2003. In 2003, I started having signs of rejection of the kidney. End up going into the hospital. Come to find out that that was when they actually found out what my disease was. They were actually able to diagnose what caused my original kidneys to fail, because it ended up coming back and attacking my transplant.
Mm.
So the disease is called, it's a long word, it's focal segmental glomerulosclerosis for short, FSGS. That's for the name of the disease. It's a recurring disease that sleeps and then comes back and attacks. So when I had my transplant, at that time it must have woken up, came and tried to attack the kidney that I had, and by the time they caught it, it was a little too late. It did its damage to my transplant. So at that time, they were already preparing to put me on the waiting list for another transplant. So that was like a huge disappointment. Of course, I think I was in about, yeah, it was 10th grade. Yeah, that was like 10th grade that happened. So honestly, the kidney ended up lasting for another like 2 years. Yeah, but I was in between that time, suffering from the symptoms of rejection. I was swelling up. I began swelling in my ankles and my feet. I was running temperatures. My blood pressure was shooting up so high. Blood pressure at that time, my blood pressure was actually starting to reach the high points of like 190s over 100s, and so that was a rough time, going through rejection and everything like that. But in between that, I was feeling okay, but like I said, it was just a little symptoms here and there throughout the duration of my high school, duration of high school. So my senior year of high school was 2005. It was nearing towards the end. I went to prom and everything, and then we were actually preparing to go on our senior trip to Florida, to Disney World. That same day that we were actually supposed to leave, I got a call for a kidney that came
Wow.
through from someone who they called a cadaver for someone who passed away.
Okay.
The kidney came through, and I was I was pretty upset because I wanted to go on my senior trip and I was feeling okay. So I was honestly was begging my parents to, like, tell them no, I'm fine. Like, why are they doing this? Blah blah. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. So we end up going through getting the surgery done, but It wasn't a success. I had severe complications. I was in the hospital in ICU for 2.5 months
Mm.
because of severe complications with that kidney. From what I remember, or for what my parents told me, because it was honestly a pretty big blur because I was heavily medicated, on medication. I was in induced comas. They had me I was tubed everywhere. So according to what I was told was when I woke up from, well, they had issues in the operating room, I guess because of the size of the kidney. I guess they were having trouble putting it in because it was too big of a kidney. So they probably it seems like they had issues placing it in at the time. So I guess once they closed me up, and then they said once I woke up, I was screaming in pain. I was saying that I was having pain in my side and stuff like that. So when they did a quick Doppler of an echo or ultrasound,
Okay.
and they saw that the kidney's heartbeat wasn't there. Like there was no heartbeat in the kidney. So they had to rush me back down to the OR. And once they opened me back up, the kidney was blue. Like basically there was no kind of life to it.
Mm.
But they tried to save it, I guess. What they tried to do, they tried to save it. I guess they got it going. But basically, if the kidney was blue then half of the function was probably already gone. But I guess they tried to do what they could do with that. And I guess in between all that, I caught about 5 infections, hospital-prone infections, just basically from, going to the OR and coming out. And so I caught about 5 infections. They had to leave both of my wounds, or both of my, well, they had to take my mom's kidney out. So they took my mom's kidney out, the one I had, and then the new kidney. So both of my sides where the kidneys were open, they had to leave me open. And what they do with that, when they leave like wounds open, they have to, what they call packing. So they pack it with saline soaked gauze. So they had to pack my sides with the gauze, and I remember every morning one of the surgeons would come in and change it, pull out the gauze, and then change it with a new gauze. So that was I remember that. And then I remember I did gain about 40, maybe 50 pounds of fluid from that. The complications, which from my waist down to my legs, I was swollen, and I was very swollen, and stretched me out. Like I have a lot of stretch marks now from my waist down to my feet because of that. So it did some damage to me, on the outside and stuff. But yeah, it was a lot going on. Plus I was heavily medicated on morphine, and it was a tough time. It was a really tough time, but I had to learn to walk again. I had to learn to get my motor skills up again. I had to learn to eat again because I didn't, I had no kind of, I couldn't eat or drink. The time when I was recovering and they would try to feed me or eat anything, I would take everything. Everything would just come up at the same time. Everything, whatever I ate, whatever I drank, came up. If I smelled something, I would be throwing up. Like literally, I didn't have anything in my stomach. I would just be dry heaving.
Yeah.
Even like they had like a medication going through my IV called, I guess, for nutrition. Even that was coming up, So yeah, it was just it was a lot. So I ended up missing my high school graduation. I didn't get to walk to my senior year, but I remember, I think I woke up, and also my birthday too. I think I woke up the day after my birthday in the hospital. Because this happened, the transplant happened June 26th. That was when that happened. So I was in the hospital the whole time, on my 18th birthday and all that. So I think I woke up the day after my birthday. I remember the nurses and my parents coming in, showing me my diploma, because I guess my principal at the time and my vice principal, they ended up coming and giving my diploma to my parents. So they came in and showed me that my diploma. They had a birthday cake. They had balloons and stuff for me. Just just to kind of make my day. Even though I missed my birthday, I was still in the coma at the time. But just vividly, I remember little things here and there about what happened. It was a lot. Being on, the medication. I heard, they said I was violent. I was pulling out things. I was cursing at the doctors. I was cursing at family members, and yeah. So my mom told me at the time, like now she knows, like if I was ever on drugs, that she knows that's how I act. And she knows if I'm on drugs, but yeah, it was a lot. Also, it was really, of course, it caused some depression, and with the medication and all that, I was like seeing things. It was, just it was making me see different things and not good. It wasn't good. Like it wasn't good things. Like
So you would say like kidney disease, outside of like the physical kidney functioning messing up, you felt other things spiraling in the sense of like your mental health, your physical health. Like what are some of the domino effects that you would say physically you've encountered over the years that rooted from kidney disease? Have you noticed any changes like in your bone density, maybe even how that affects you nutritionally, or some of the things that you might have to restrict? Can you speak on some of those type of things?
So the main thing I really struggled with is my weight. As far as gaining weight,
Okay.
that definitely was something that I struggled with. Ever since I gained all that water weight, and then trying to get it off, and then now I lost a lot of muscle mass over the years too from that. Mentally, yeah, because at the time, I dealt with this since I was 11, but
Yeah.
over the time, like especially with the last transplant was very traumatizing, and I was 18 years old, and I'm like,
You're a baby.
I my self-esteem was low, my confidence was low. I didn't feel attractive. I was super skinny. I had all these scars, and I was, I really, really like it. It just wasn't. It didn't feel right to me. Like I didn't feel good. Like I didn't feel good with that. And but yeah, my weight is something that I struggle with. At the time of my transplant, I was on a medication. That was as a steroid, and I know many people who are familiar with this too, because sometimes people use it for like asthma. It's prednisone. I know people who are familiar with that. I was on that. That is a part of the anti-rejection medication. I was on that for the kidney, but after years of being off of it, it causes deterioration of your bones. I have a slight little bone disease called avascular necrosis, and it causes a deterioration of your bones. So I have it in both of my hips and a little bit of in my two shoulders. My left hip was the worst. I started feeling symptoms back in 2007. A bit of like cracking and popping, and it came to a point where I started to walk with a cane because it got so bad and the pain has gotten so bad. I ended up sticking it through until about 2011, and I ended up getting a total left hip replacement from that.
As a 20-year-old.
Bone. Yes. The ball, if you can imagine, like the ball of your hip, it was actually like a crescent moon. It ended up turning into a crescent moon. It
That's
wasn't
ridiculous.
actually a ball anymore. That was my left hip. My right hip is holding on, thank God. I haven't had any trouble with that. My shoulders are so-so. They're okay. I'm having a little issue with my right shoulder right now, but not so bad. But I'm hanging in there with that, and I'm trying to prolong it as much as possible.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that causes definitely with your bones. Also, kidney disease. Your kidneys do a lot for your body. Like it plays a big role as far as filtering the waste in your body. It helps
Mm-hmm.
you to pee. It helps regulate. It helps balance all your electrolytes and your minerals in your body, like your
Huge.
potassium,
It's
your
huge.
phosphorus, calcium. It definitely does a lot. And actually, as far as like, yeah, helping you go pee, like I don't pee anymore. I don't urinate at
How
all.
long has it been since you
Ooh, I officially stopped. I would say, I think it was around the time we were like dating. I think it had to be maybe around 2014.
yeah.
I
Okay.
officially stopped. Urinating.
So you were
Um,
still like, I guess, tinkling, if you want to
yeah, I think they're
give a
like
little
like
term.
going like maybe like a half a cup.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
slowly over time deteriorating. So until the point where it was just no more. Like I
yeah,
wasn't,
yeah,
going. So since 2014, like I no longer urinate. So that's just to think about that. Like that's a little, the little things,
that
like
we don't,
that
that
you
we
don't,
take for granted for sure.
granted,
Well,
imagine like not being.
put that in perspective for people because when you have normal functioning kidneys, you filter 24/7.
Yeah,
And for someone who's on dialysis, which I do want you to kind of break down different ways of
yeah,
dialysis, but for the standard practice of dialysis, what is that? We call the hemodialysis, correct?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
the one where they
So,
take your
and
blood. Yeah,
that pretty much works with someone either going into a hospital or a clinic setting,
yes,
and you sit on the machine and it filters you out for anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, right?
correct, correct.
So, is that in your case, you do it 3 days a week? Is that a normal thing? Do some people do 4 or some people every day? Like, how does that work? Because if we're filtering 24/7, if you're filtering 3 days a week, anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, you're missing out on a lot of hours throughout the
Yes,
week,
yes,
So I want you to one, touch on how that's like in a sense of we can drink water all day long. Maybe you might have to monitor how much water you can take. And especially you being already a smaller size individual, your intake is even less than
yes,
someone who's might be weighing 170 pounds or,
yes,
whatever the case is. So just break down some of that in the sense of like restriction, fluid balance, and just the overall concept of literally filtering your body no more than 24 hours out of the week. Like that's crazy. If that, and for like
yes,
15 hours really, So
yes. So yeah, basically, like I said, dialysis. I go to dialysis 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
okay.
Um, some people, depending on like, it all depends on how like what their case is about. Some people do 4 days a week. There's another type of dialysis where there's nocturnal dialysis where people go at night and they filter over 8 hours. And then there's a dialysis called peritoneal dialysis, which is a bloodless dialysis, but there's a catheter that goes in your belly and it puts fluid in your belly, goes into the peritoneum, and it drains it out. And drains the fluid out, but you do this at night over 8 to 10 hours, and then
Mm,
that's done every day. So with that one being done every day, it's a little more better because it almost like as if you have a kidney, since it's being filtered every night. That's that. But as far as hemodialysis, which is only 3 days a week, only for a couple of hours, you like say if I get, I've done my treatment for the night, you know, after a couple hours, I'm already toxing up, you
yeah.
know. You know what I'm saying? My body's already toxing up and everything. That's why we have the night, I have the next day off, but then I have to go the next day. So it's yeah. That's why we have restrictions as far as like fluid restrictions, as far as how much we have to drink, And food, food restrictions as far as like watching what you eat, how much potassium is in food, how much phosphorus is in food, how much calcium is in food, sodium, like
Oh
that.
yeah, I can imagine
And
sodium being a rough one.
yeah, since your kidney does not filter that out, your body can build it up, and it's hard to get rid of. So potassium is very much is one that you have to really, really be careful, because potassium is an electrolyte. Electrolytes affect your heart,
Yeah.
basically. So if your potassium is too high, if it gets to a point it's too high, it causes cardiac arrest.
Mm.
So that's something you have to be careful of. Phosphorus, you have to be careful of, because if that doesn't filter out, it causes calcium deposits to develop in your body. It can start blocking your arteries. It can start showing up in your bones. It can start showing up in your eyes, in different places, and that's another issue too. As far as fluid, I'm restricted to about 32 ounces a day.
Just fluid in general.
Fluid in general.
Wow.
So
that's counting like soda, juice, water, all that.
Anything, fruit, ice cream, ices, anything that has water, that's salads and stuff, that anything that contains water, that's considered water too.
I want people to put 32 ounces in perspective. If you drink a Poland Spring water bottle, that's 2 of those.
Yeah,
that's
basically.
2 of those, so for many people, they say if you should be drinking about 100 ounces of water a day, ideally between 100 ounces and a gallon. 32 ounces is like a quarter of that. Just to put some perspective and for people to think about that. So, all right. So since we're on the topic of I'm sorry, what were you saying? I don't want to cut you off.
I was gonna go more into that, as far as if we happen to a patient like me who happen to drink too much, what we call is overload, fluid overload. That can cause edema, cause swelling.
Yeah.
It eventually can go. The fluid can go to your heart, it can go to your lungs. It can cause you heart trouble breathing, and that's a hospital visit as well. That's a trip to the ER.
And I'm sure you've experienced this a couple times, more times than none.
Yes, I have. Especially it's a little rough in the summertime when it's hot, and then you get thirsty and stuff. But I've over the years I've been good with that, so been pretty good with that.
So how do you have like a diet plan for yourself? Do you have certain nutrition? Well, obviously you have restrictions, but like, how do you set up your eating plan? Just speak on that a little bit. And are you different now than you were maybe a few years back too? Like, can you talk about even like how you evolved in your nutrition knowledge and finding out what style of eating may, suit you best?
Of course. My diet is basically regular, but I do, like I said, I do modify it, everything in moderation.
Yeah.
Me, like back then, since I was young, back then I was eating whatever, not really caring, the sodium and all that.
Probably a little naive to everything too, right?
Of course. But now, taking more care of my body and, watching the salt and watching the potassium. There's lots of, I do my research on what I can have, like what are the low potassium foods and low sodium foods and different things like that. Every once in a while, I can indulge in something a little high in phosphorus or a little high in salts or whatever it is. But as long as you modify yourself and you know how you plan on what you want to eat and stuff like that. So, basically I have my fruits, which are, my strawberries, blueberries, melon. Every once in a while when I treat myself, I'll eat a mango, which I know is high in potassium, but mangoes I love. I'll mango and that, and potatoes I love. Like I absolutely love potatoes, but that is a too high in potassium. I know that.
But there's a little trick that you can drop the potassium in the potatoes, right?
Yes, there's a trick that you you can, what they soak it. You soak it, you cut it up in, like, bite-sized pieces. You can soak it overnight, which they call straining or something like that, they call it, where it pulls out a good amount of potassium in
Okay, so you got
potatoes.
to soak it probably at least a good 8 to 12 hours or something.
At least a day, yeah, or at least like a day. You drain it, and then you pour, like, you'll soak it overnight, you drain it, you pour some more water on it, you soak it again. Like, you at least do it twice. Do it twice at least
Yeah,
to get a good amount of potassium out of it. So that's the way they or that's what's called blanching or something
bland. Yeah,
of that
I'm
nature.
not a big cook like that. I wouldn't
Yeah.
know.
So yeah, so that's another way. But I stick with my diet's pretty good. Like, I like to I indulge every once in a while. Like today I indulged in a chocolate muffin, which is good. I indulged in a chocolate muffin. So that's my little treat for today. But as far as like my diet, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I eat rice, I eat pasta, I eat chicken, I eat fish. Um, yeah, and then my fruits and my vegetables. Oh yeah, vegetables too. Like, got to be careful with certain greens.
Yeah,
Spinach and kale are a little too high in potassium. So I stick with like green beans or carrots and corn and um, yeah. So that's
yeah, and it's
kind of what
funny
I.
because they'll tell you, yeah, eat as much greens as you want. Yeah, but that doesn't work for someone in your
It doesn't.
situation. You know what I mean? Like the potassium count is so high in dark green veggies. The average person is amazing for, but for you, where you can't filter it out as much,
No.
that's a killer. You mix that in with a mango. I'm sure like the top three ones you watch out for. Well, four, the dark greens, mangoes, avocados, and bananas are probably ones where you're like, all right, I gotta really moderate
Apples,
those.
oranges, yes. It's just
Yeah, oranges. Yep.
and someone like me, because most people don't really have. There's no symptoms really if somebody has high potassium. Some people don't feel it. On the other hand, I do, which is thank God I do have a symptom or makes me feel like I have my potassium is high, which is not a good feeling actually. But I'm glad that I do have that feeling to tell me that okay, this is what's happening. Your potassium is high.
What's that
Blah blah
feeling
blah.
that you feel?
It actually causes muscle paralysis. It
Wow.
starts. I start with feeling like a tingling sensation through my hands and my legs. It eventually moves up to my face and my lips, where everything starts tingling, and eventually my muscles start to stiffen up to the
Mm.
point where I can't walk, I can't move, and that, like I said, that is once I get to that point, that is a trip to the emergency room because
Yeah, I've
that
been with you
is
during that.
I
One of those moments. It was a
yes.
very
Yes.
very scary moment. Very scary
Yes,
moment.
and that means you have to get immediate dialysis right away to eliminate that potassium out of the body. So definitely have to watch. The restrictions are very important. As far as keeping all your levels good and just trying to avoid anything that's too high in potassium and all that.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Over the past year, I've definitely noticed that I would even say probably the past 2 years, you've definitely been taking your fitness a lot more serious. Um, is that something even during quarantine? Have you been like keeping up with your workouts? What do your workouts consist of? And I like to ask a lot of loaded questions, sorry, but also, what are some of the changes that you felt physically from adding in more exercise compared to when we first met around 2012 with a lot of the body issues you were going through? How are you feeling today incorporating more of a fitness lifestyle integrated in within the last 2 years?
Um, I have experienced a huge, significant difference. My quality of life, I feel, is better than how I was like years ago.
Yeah.
Honestly, as far as moving, like I had issues with my hips. Um, my mobility with my hips and things like that. So that definitely feels 100% better as far as me. I couldn't do a jumping jack for nothing. I couldn't run for nothing. I couldn't.
Couldn't hit parallel on a squat. That was a big thing.
Nothing.
You could not hit
Didn't do
parallel on
any
a
of that.
squat just because of weakness in the hips and
Now,
tightness.
right now, I'm hitting my squats like nothing. I'm doing my jumping jacks. I'm jumping rope. My cardio is much better. I'm not as out of breath or out of shape as I was before. Like I said, my quality of life has definitely improved. My blood pressure has been
Oh, that's a big
significantly
one.
better. I'm on less medication for my blood pressure because
There
I
we
was
go.
on about 8. I remember I was on like 8 pills for blood
Easy.
pressure, and it still wasn't like controlling my blood pressure
That's 8
correctly
pills
on
strictly
8
for blood
medications.
pressure, not counting anything else that you had to take pills for. That's crazy.
Right. And my
That's
blood
crazy.
pressure was still running like 170s, over 100s, and I was on 8 medications for blood pressure, and my blood pressure was not under control at all. Now I'm on 4 medications, which is actually working very beautifully for my blood pressure, as well as
Good.
me still being active, of course, and keeping
Yeah.
up movement and everything. Yeah, it's definitely improved my way of life, quality of life, I should say.
So you spoke on necrosis with like the bone degeneration. Have you felt a difference in like your bone strength from, because you're doing more like strength training and stuff as well, right?
Yes,
Yeah. So have you noticed like a
yes.
difference in like your hip strength, maybe even your shoulder strength, range of motion, things like that?
Absolutely. As far as like doing more of the hip mobility work, my hips are more open. They're a little more flexible. No pain. I haven't had pain. The pain is kind of basically subsided. As far as with the working out and the stretching and the doing all the hip work. I've had literally no pain in my hips and my shoulders at all.
Oh, that's
Which is
awesome, man.
like very minimal pain. Not as bad as it was years ago. It's literally like it's so much better, so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Just
remember
playing
those
a
days, man. When we first started squatting, we was doing above parallel squats onto like a seat. Um, when we tried to get you lower, like your body physically would just reject it. Like you didn't have the strength in the hips, you didn't have the mobility in the hips to get down there. We would probably do like 2 or 3 exercises, and I remember you would start to get lightheaded. Um, so it's awesome to see you today dropping your squats below parallel with no hip pain. To do jumping jacks, you're doing single leg work. You know what I mean? And single leg work has a lot to do with hip stability and hip strength. You weren't able to knock out push-ups when we first started. It was hurting your shoulders. You're banging out clips of 10 to 15, So I often use your story a lot when I talk about people like starting like at a very low fitness level and increasing over time. Because what I always admired about how you train was you never tried to do too much. Like you just kept doing little bit by little bit. Like our workouts literally would be 2 to 3 exercises, not even 3 sets, like 2 sets, 2 to 3 exercises. You'd be done in like 10 minutes. I know at first we tried doing longer workouts in the beginning and we realized that wasn't working for you. It was having more of a negative effect than anything. So we really just cut down the quality. We started working on the squats, just holding up plank position to get the arms strong, to avoid some of that shakiness. And now you're knocking out 30-minute workouts compared to like 10-minute workouts that you used to have. Some days I'm sure you're probably going a little bit longer than that. Like, so to see
Yeah,
you
I'm doing a good hour now.
okay. All right, we got you like fit now. Yeah, that's good. That's good. But it's awesome to see though. Like, so to hear you talk about like your shoulders are getting stronger, your hips are getting stronger. For somebody to not be able to hold up a straight arm plank for 10 seconds without shaking to knocking out a clip of 15 in the push-ups. This is like 2 years in the making of shit. You know what I mean? So just for people that watching this on the sense of why we speak about being consistent so much, it's like it's not about necessarily going in and trying to kill yourself all the time. It's like just work on the little stuff over time, little by little, and then master the basics, get some range of motion going, get some basic strength going, and then you can take your fitness wherever you want to. You know, and this is someone who literally came in with like health issues, mobility issues because of not just, tightness, like actual loss of bone mineral, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
strengthening up, getting the bone density, up from strength training exercises over time, not from doing too much, but just doing the right amount and then just applying a little bit extra each workout or each month or each week, things of that nature. This is what the result is. And so just imagine when you get into the next year or the second year from this, you might be throwing up 115 on the squat or 135 on a squat, dropping down deep, comfortably and safely,
Yeah.
So that's really awesome to hear. That's really awesome to hear. Let's talk about COVID a little bit. It was pretty heavy. I'm not saying that COVID's light, but have you picked up any new skills during COVID, or how have you been managing during COVID? You could talk about a little bit during like the
Well,
quarantine era that we're in.
yes. Well, technically, my career is I'm a licensed phlebotomist, so I technically didn't stop working.
Okay.
My hours reduced a little bit, but I was technically still working in the field of during the whole thing. Definitely like protecting myself. Definitely like masking up, gloving up, gowning up, and everything. But But yes, during my downtime at home, when I was at home, I definitely took this time for quarantine, like during quarantine, just to work on like my mental health, take care of myself, and like doing inner work for myself, self care, and just working on the mental health and all that. That was definitely helpful for me. Just taking that time for myself, and just trying to, I guess, just reflecting and things like that. And I picked up on a little skill here. I started doing some candles. I started making
I've been waiting
candles.
for the plug.
Yes. I've been working on that. That was actually, a thing that just came to mind, and I did my research on it at first. Saw what I needed to get and what I needed to do. Started experimenting, and then I've been knocking stuff out, knocking candles out, making them, and I will be launching pretty soon. I'm hoping by the end of this week. Breaking news! I will be launching my candle line, Enlightened Candles by Britt. That is the name. Look out for it on my social media. I will be posting very soon, and also launching my website at the same time.
Nice, man.
I have a few line of scents right now, but I will be, if anyone has any requests of scents that you would like, I will make them for you, no problem. Just shoot me a message if anything you like, anything that you don't really see on the website, or you want something made, then please let me know. I will make that for you.
Anything with jasmine for me.
Yeah, you got it. But yeah,
no, that's awesome.
basically. Yeah. So yeah, stay tuned for that. We have more candles on there and plenty more things I'll be adding on the website soon. So just stay tuned. It'll probably be more. It'll be more than candles. Candles will be the main feature, but I'll probably have more things on there. So look out for that. A lot of handmade stuff, natural stuff, for everyone. So
And
look
you're
out for
infusing
that.
oils in it too, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
That's awesome.
Using oils and a lot of herbs and stones and things like that. Yeah, playing around with little things. So.
Can you tell us some of the scents that you'll be launching when you do open up?
I do have the regular. I have lavender, your typical lavender. I have and all the ladies who like Victoria's Secret blends. I have Love Spell and Amber Rose, Amber Romance. I have lemon. I have what else? I have jasmine. I have
Gotta have jasmine.
I forget my other ones I have. Oh, I have fresh linen. I have sweet
Mm.
pea. Many more. I have an ocean breeze. I think that's what it is. Yeah, ocean breeze one. Like I have different blends of candles. There's coconut wax blend, soy regular 100% soy wax, and also gel wax, which is the a cleary kind of crystal-y kind of clear colored wax. So
That's dope.
when I launch it, you'll be able to see what I have to offer.
We are all looking forward to it. Before we wrap up, where are you in the stages of receiving another kidney?
Right now, like I said, it has been. I've been on dialysis and I've been waiting for a transplant for 15 years. It'll be 16 years in September. Very, 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 very long wait. I am.
Why is that the case? Like, why would you be in for? Because there's some cases that it seems like people. I mean, I guess if we're talking about celebrities, right? Like when Lamar Odom was going through his issue, he had got one literally with I feel like within months. So like, how does this process work? Is there like a ranking system? Is it like how does it work?
Typically what they tell you, like if you just start dialysis, they're gonna say, okay, the wait list for you, like the waiting period will be between like 5 years, typically, for people who just start out, unless you have a live donor, someone who is willing to get tested and who will be a match for you. But if you don't, you'll be listed on what they call the waiting list, which is people waiting for cadavers, people who untimely pass away and who end up matching with you. So the maximum wait list is 5 years. But for me, I do have a slight complication because of that time in 2005 with everything with my last transplant. I had received over 10 blood transfusions, many blood transfusions I had, which causes a development of antibodies. So you have your antibodies in your body, the ones that they fight off, viruses and things like that. I have too many. I have an overload. I have 100%. I have too many antibodies in my body. So when it comes down to getting a transplant, the person who's donating or who I'm getting the kidney from, they have to have little to none, or they have to match, I guess, mine, because if not, once they do the compatibility test, if my blood or my antibodies attacks the other person's antibodies, then that means that's no good. So if I end up getting a kidney from that person, my body is going to reject it instantly.
Wow.
So I'm considered what they call highly sensitized because of my high number of antibodies. And I was told, which is very weird, because I was told that, they said over time of dialysis, if you're on dialysis for over 8-10 years, those numbers of antibodies can reduce. Mine never reduced.
Really?
Unfortunately. So
is there a process that they can do to help reduce that? That doesn't.
There is a treatment out there which is called plasmapheresis. But unfortunately, I guess it has to be like maybe a funding issue, that they're just either not doing it for people, or people are just not qualified. I was told that I just wasn't qualified for it, and I was told nothing else.
How
So
would you not be qualified for something like
I don't know. They've been giving me a runaround with that for years, and just it just comes to the point where, like, it just came, I guess, down to the point where it's just not funded. So I'm doing my part now to try to help myself. So I'm still
that?
looking for donors. Anybody who wants to donate, please reach out to me. My blood type is B positive. It doesn't hurt to go get tested. You won't be charged. You'll be under me. My insurance and my transplant, everything, they'll pay for your testing, for you to get tested. It is a process, so you do have to be, like, really willing to do it, and mentally, they will test you basically on, like,
Oh, like the mental
why
test
you
to make
do
sure.
this. Yeah,
Gotcha.
like why you want to do this and this and that and that. So it's a process in that too. But either way, if you do want to get tested, please reach out to me. I will, go down the line with you and tell you who to reach out to and everything. But as far as on my end, I am also getting multi-listed in different states. I do have an appointment in Maryland at Johns Hopkins University. They actually do transplants with highly sensitized patients like me. So they actually do transplants. Like, they can do that. Like, say if I have someone who's not really compatible, or like if my antibodies will attack them, they have sources to combat that.
Mm.
And they can do that. Also, they do have the plasmapheresis there as well. So
Oh, dope.
with COVID, yeah, so with COVID and everything going on, I did have an appointment actually in August, but since everything going on, they're not taking patients outside of out of the state or anything right now. So they pushed back my appointment till like mid-September, but I'm still glad that I'm still, they're still thinking about me, and they still have me on the list, and they still want me to come. So I do have an appointment lined up hopefully in September. Hopefully that all goes well, and I can go get listed in Maryland, and that hopefully will increase my chances of getting transplanted. So I'm hoping, cross fingers, that I will get my transplant, hopefully it's by the end of this year, or hopefully next year, then, if that helps. And also, I'm also looking into Pennsylvania as well. There's a hospital out there
Okay.
as well, just to get listed in different states, just to help myself,
Doesn't
because
hurt.
honestly, what I'm saying, it's been too long. I don't seem to be having any luck really here, and with my transplant center is great and everything, but as far as them, having other resources to help me and things like that, I gotta help myself,
Mm.
and this is what I'm doing to want to help myself to get there, because I want my quality of life is good, but I want my quality of life to be even better. I don't want to live on dialysis I don't want to be hooked up to a machine for years and years for the rest of my life. I'm ready to be free of dialysis and to get a transplant and be able to fully live my life and do what I want to do, travel and all that.
Oh, man. Absolutely. Now, I remember I wanted to get tested, but I didn't have the exact blood type. Is there a
Yes,
way
you were.
Yeah, something like that. You probably know better than I do.
Yeah.
Is there a way for someone that doesn't have the blood type to match you? Is there some type of program that's set up that allows them to still donate, if that makes sense?
Yes, this is what they call a swap or a paired exchange. I don't know if anyone's heard of, like, they do like these 20-person swaps of when they do a transplant. Like, so basically, like, say if like you're type A, you can't, and I'm type B, you're not able to donate to me. So what they do is that they'll find someone who you match with, so, and then their family member matches with me. So we'll do what they call a swap. So you'll
Okay.
donate your kidney to their family member, and then that family member who matches me will donate to me. That's what they call a swap.
Got it.
So if you're, whoever wants to donate, if they're not a match, if they're willing to do that as well, was to get onto that program to do that to help me as well. That's another way as well to do.
Awesome, man. We didn't talk about your modeling career. You know, we can sit here and talk for another hour, but can you just briefly speak about, and I don't want to hold you up all day long, but can you briefly speak about how you did come to grips with like your body image? Because I know you battled a lot of scars from a lot of the surgeries that you dealt with. I know you've battled low self-esteem and confidence for some time. Um, when did that switch come for you to be more comfortable in your skin, which ultimately led you into aspiring to be a model?
Um, it's more of a acceptance and learning just to love me and just learning to love the skin that I'm in. Like I realized I know these scars remind me of what happened, but also it reminds me that I survived it. Like I'm still here, and I survived. And these scars, they tell my story
Mm,
basically. So over time, I learned to love them because, like I said, they are a part of me. And um, basically, I'm just, I love it, and I flaunt it. So now, like I have them here, I flaunt it now. So I own these scars; they're mine.
yeah,
So basically, that's why I want to use a little bit here and there of my modern platform to just promote body positivity. You know, just teaching people to just men and women to love your bodies, love your scars.
hmm,
They're a part of you. They just show how you survived that, whatever happened or whatever these scars tell you, that you survived it, and you're a warrior. You just learn to just love it and show it off.
yeah,
And just know that just love yourself. That's basically you gotta love yourself inside and out. Gotta love yourself. So that's why another reason why, like I said, I want to use my platform to just promote that as well, the body positivity.
I love it. Um, I don't have any other questions. This is probably one of my favorite talks that I've been on. This is a really good talk. The last thing I'll probably just say is, can you just throw out your Instagram for people to so people can look you up? We're gonna plug you in when we drop the footage anyway, but just give your Instagram out. I don't know if you have a well, you'll get to that when that time comes
Yeah,
along,
yeah,
but how people can
yeah.
contact you, and throw that out there.
Yes, yes. You can contact me. My IG handle is B underscore my dream underscore LUVHER. Be my dream lover at Instagram.
Awesome, man. Any closing? Oh, all right. So we're R&B heads. Let's end on a light note, man. All right. Ro James' new album versus Division's new album. Who you got?
I'm going with Division.
Of course you are.
Division, hands down.
Okay.
Yes. I love Ro James, but Division, as far as like the many hits, their previous albums, I love all of them.
all right. I got
All
another
of
one
them.
for you. Tiana's album versus Janae Aiko's album.
Ah!
You wasn't ready for
Um,
that one.
no, I love
I got
them
my
both,
answer.
but I'm going with Tiana Taylor's recent album. Yes.
Yeah, I got Tiana.
Yep.
You heard Snow Allegra's new song?
Yes, I have. I've been playing it ever since it dropped.
It's a great record, man. And I like that new
Yes,
Lloyd
it is.
record that's out with Teddy Riley too.
Oh yeah, you shared that with me. Yes, that's
That's
a
a good
great
one.
one too.
All right.
That's a great one.
Let's do little quick hits. Usher or Chris Brown?
I'm going with Usher
Okay.
because he just I mean, they're both legends. They're both iconic, but Usher because of his Confession album.
Yeah, that's the one right there. I like that new record he dropped too. I Cry. Was that or Just Cry? Something like that.
Yes.
That's
Or
a
yeah,
great.
I Cry. Yeah. I
That's a
Cry.
great rap. I'm surprised that's not being talked about more. All right, last one. August of Will.
Petty.
All right, man. On a serious note, I appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me.
Thank you
I think we
so
had a
much.
really,
It was
really good
good.
discussion. I'm really
Yes,
excited to
yes,
share this information and to get more, just to get more awareness out there for kidney disease. Like I say, I think it's one of those things that people know, but they don't really understand the severity of it. And I think you did an
yes,
excellent job on talking about a lot of the low points that come with this disease and the domino effect, whether it plays on your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, all of those aspects. And you did a really good job at highlighting a lot of stuff. So we do appreciate you for taking your time out to bring awareness to this. Um, Anybody that's looking at this, if you're interested in donating, she put her
or
IG
just wanted
contact out there, or
information.
just even
Yeah.
want to know more information, just curious about the lifestyle, curious about her story. I would love for her to get into blogging or vlogging and things like that to share more of her story, because she got a lot to say. So we appreciate you here, and I want you to have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Being the
So
first one to kick this off. Yes.
that is true.
Yes.
That is true. The bar is set high.
Absolutely.
Set
That's
high.
right.
That is right.
All right. Thank
Have
you
a
so
good one.
much.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
Thank you.